ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकय चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सह गणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I welcome everyone to the 8th session of our ongoing series on the pastime of Gajendra Lila. We have had 7 sessions till now, and we have systematically covered up to the description of the Trikuta mountain. We have described different attributes of the Trikuta mountain, the exact place where this pastime took place. We spoke about the different residents who lived there. We spoke about the different kinds of flowers, trees, herbs, fruits, etc. found there, the environment, the breeze, the water body, the natural scenic description that Shukdev Goswami gives elaborately as our profound speaker of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And yesterday we spent the whole session discussing the exact universal positioning of the Trikuta mountain in Krauncha Dvipa. We also humbled ourselves by understanding how insignificant we are in comparison to the unlimitedly glorious creation of Sri Krishna. In that we get to know Krishna's unparalleled opulent position as the creator, and we understand how insignificant we are. So in this way, one great Acharya writes in his commentary that when we stand on the shore of the ocean, we get to know how insignificant we are, because the water body in the ocean, filled with ever increasing tides, and the depth, the insurmountable dimensions of the ocean, just make us feel how much helpless we are if put in that water. How those sharks, those whales, those crocodiles, those sea monsters will devour us and we will be helpless. So just by standing on the shore of the ocean, if that is the feeling of humility and insignificant, the introspection of being completely insignificant, how much more when we get to know some details described in the Bhagavatam about Krishna's creation. So this was the purpose, also for the inquiry purpose of many devotees who had messaged me. So now today we continue from the point. Just to quickly give us the perspective as to where we are in our discussion, we were mentioning about different kinds of animals in the Trikuta. We also mentioned about how there are different kinds of emeralds and very expensive, very priceless stones found on the valleys of many peaks. We mentioned about how there are amazing trees and there are gardens of the demigods and there are birds, Vihangamaha, who are Kalakantha, who are having very sweet melodious voice. They are singing. And at the same time, the nature of the water body is described. Sarit Sarobhir Acchodaihi. Just to give in context, this is Canto 8, Chapter 2, Text 8, before the names of different trees. So Shukdev Goswami, in this verse, 8 to 8, he says, Sarit Sarobhir Acchodaihi Pulinair Manivalukaihi Devastri Majjanamoda Saurabambu Anilair Yutaha. He's saying, Sarit Sarobhir Acchodaihi. There are so many lakes and so many water bodies. And he says, Acchodaihi, filled with crystal clear water, translates Prabhupada. So the word Acha that we use in Hindi is actually a Sanskrit word. Acchodaihi. So when we say Acha, it's good. That is a Sanskrit word. So now when you add the prefix Su, which means Sushtu or Shobhanam, then the meaning heightens. So Su plus Acha becomes Swachha. So the word that we use, Swachha, the Swachh Bharat campaign, keeping everything clean. So Acha means clean, Su means very, so Swachha means very clean. So here I just wanted to make that point, how the colloquial language that we have, languages that we have in India, have very strong word derivations and inheritance from the Sanskrit language, which is the mother of all languages. So that is one point. Also, the interesting thing here, I wanted to also spend some time on, is the fact that Devastri Majjanamoda Saurabambo Anilai Yutaha, that these waters are so beautiful and so fragrant and so pure. By default, they are like that. In fact, in the 5th canto, it is described, there are some places in our creation where the water by default is fragrant and tasty. So when someone just rinses their mouth, even if their mouth is not fragrant, by rinsing it with that specific type of water, which is found naturally in other dvipas in our creation, in Krishna's creation described in our Bhagavatam, then the water naturally becomes more fragrant. And if it is gulped down, then it is very tasty and very nourishing to the body. So that's where the perverted reflection comes in of making things flavorful in this world. All the juices with all artificial sugar and artificial colors, they are made tasty. But these are all perverted reflections of Krishna's natural creation. So here waters are by default very tasty in the Trikuta. They're also very fragrant. And the persons who are dipping in are also by default very fragrant. Their bodies are very fragrant. The natural chandan and different kinds of powders and oils that they use to anoint their body are also very fragrant. Their mouths are very fragrant. The flower garlands that they have are very fragrant. And when they mix with the water of the Trikuta, which is very tasty and fragrant and nourishing, then it just gets better. Also, the tortoise in the water, when it is swimming, accidentally sometimes it touches the stem of the lotus. And what happens is that the pollen from the lotus, it falls off from the lotus and mixes with the water. And that makes the water even more beautiful and fragrant. So all of this has been described in the Bhagavatam. The Yoga Sutras actually describe that those bodies which are very well taken care, they are taken care with proper sattvic lifestyle and proper sattvic food, etc. Those bodies will be free from stink. On the other hand, the bodies which are naturally in tamogun, oversleeping, unnecessary eating, even when the body is not hungry, just for the taste bud eating, no thought process of the amount and the quality of eating, the lack of exercise, no proper breathing, rhythmic pattern, and so many other things. Sleeping through Brahma Muhurta, waking up early and being awake at night, and irregular water drinking pattern, and so many other things. Because of that, and the body naturally being in tamasic consciousness, the body stinks. It stinks. But the heavenly bodies are not like that. In fact, in the heavenly kingdom, forget about stinking bodies. Their bodies are so fragrant then that the flowers feel very ashamed of their own fragrance when a demigod passes by their garden. The demigods, they forget about their feet touching the ground. Even their shadow doesn't touch the ground. That is how empowered they are. And they don't even have eyelids. They don't even blink. They don't even have to waste that amount of time. Even the sages, great, very exalted sages, when they are performing yajnas, they don't have to blink their eyes even by the smoke. I remember when I was about, this is 2003, so I was 11 years old, and my brother and I, we got the Brahminical thread, because that's when in a Brahminical culture, it is not the Brahmin initiation according to ISKCON, but according to birth, you have the Brahmin thread at the right time. So he was 7 and I was 11. So after the thread ceremony, immediately we had a ceremony where we had to perform the chanting of Gayatri Mantra 1008 times, offering it into like a fire sacrifice, offering the oblation into the fire, chanting the Gayatri Mantra 108 times with our Brahmana teacher or Guru who initiated us into this process. So my brother and I, we were sitting and we had this Yajna Kunda at home, and we were offering the Ahuti from both sides. And the fire became so intense and so hot, the smoke was intolerable. You can't imagine as kids what we did. We had to continue that Gayatri Japa because it was 1008 times and you can't get up. It takes a long time. It takes a few hours at least. So we were, it was like the most hilarious, pervertedly reflected, tamasic approach to that yajna sacrifice. It's really hilarious when I look back now. We were sitting on either side of the yajna kunda, and as if the intensity of the fire increased and the smoke started being so intolerable, eyes were burning. We sat with our sunglasses. Just imagine like Ray-Ban sunglasses. And then it became even more hotter. So we had like thick towels dipped in cold water on our neck. It was almost like sports athlete playing a US Open under the sun. And then there is our Brahmana teacher who's just completely unaffected, because this is his daily activity. So he's chanting the mantras and he's offering. And for hours he was just sitting there. And I remember at one point what happened was it became so intolerable, even with the Ray-Ban sunglasses and even with those towels with soaking wet cold water on our neck. We were offering, and as the fire, the smoke would come up, we would run away and then wait for it to settle down again little, and again come offer one and run away. And the Brahmana said, this is not how the yajna is done. So, we were laughing. Now when I look back, it's really hilarious. That's what tamasic bodies go through. Tamasic bodies because of eyelids, etc. But the sages who performed yajna at Naimisharanya, the 88,000 sages, when they performed yajna, no one even blinked an eyelid, because that place was the birthplace of yajnas, with so much compassion, without a blinking of an eyelid. Naimishe nimisha kshetre. That Naimisharanya is the place where not a single, nimi means eyelid, nimesha. So no one blinked. So the demigods are also having this siddhi. Their bodies are so beautiful. They are so intelligent, and with so much fragrance. Even when they speak, even their glance, very, very beautiful. But it is described that when they would come and bathe in these places, the water would make them fragrant and they would make the water fragrant. So it was a very, very beautiful description that here Shukdev Goswami is describing. Interestingly, in that purport, towards the end, Prabhupada says, since the bodies of the damsels in the upper planetary system are so beautiful, we can just imagine how beautifully formed the bodies of the Vaikuntha damsels or the damsels in Vrindavan, the gopis are. So this is Srila Prabhupada's heart. Even when the description is of the Trikuta, Prabhupada's heart runs to the gopis of Vrindavan. This is the nature of a pure devotee. When descriptions are of this world, he remembers his eternal Lord. But the materialistic is such that when the descriptions are of the Supreme Lord, he remembers this material world. Like a mundane materialist, when he hears about Radha and Krishna, he thinks they are male and female, and his consciousness comes back immediately to the realm of lust in this world. However, a pure devotee, when he sees babies crawl or babies have a very nice, sweet baby talk and baby walk, and everyone is getting glued and attracted to babies in this world, the pure devotee appreciates the baby's innocence, but immediately in his mind he thinks, if the baby in this world is so beautiful, what to speak of this supremely attractive person, Sri Krishna, when he came as a baby? So therefore, the Bhagavatam describes Gopala Udara Charitam, Balya Leelam Manoharam. The baby pastimes of Krishna are filled with sweetness. Balya Leelam Manoharam. They kidnap the heart. So therefore, this is interesting to note that if the ponds in Trikuta are so beautiful, what to speak of Radha Kund? And if the damsels and their Stri are so beautiful, what to speak of the gopis of Vrindavan? Mahyam Atma Pada Padma Dasya Dastu Radhika. Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami very beautifully describes that the great controllers of this world, like Gauri or Parvati, who is the eternal consort of Lord Shiva, and Saraswati, who is the eternal consort of Brahma, and Shachi Devi, who is the eternal consort of Indra, they all worship Rama, who is Lakshmi Devi. And innumerable Lakshmi Devis worships the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. And Sri Krishna worships the lotus feet of Radharani. So Kaviraj Goswami says, she is the source of all beauty. Radharani is the source of all beauty and all sweetness. Vaidagdya Sindhu Anuraga Rasaika Sindhu Vatsalya Sindhu Atisandra Kripaika Sindhu Lavanya Sindhu Amrita Chavi Rupa Sindhu Shri Radhika Spuratume Ridhikeli Sindhu. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati says Krishna, Srimati Radharani is Vaidagdya Sindhu. She is the ocean of being Vidagda, being an expert trickster and very expert in tasting, relishing rasa. Vaidagda Sindhu Anuraga Rasa Eka Sindhu. And she is the only ocean, only Sindhu of divine pure love for Krishna. Similarly, Vatsalya Sindhu, she is the ocean of affection for all conditioned souls as the mother. Vatsalya Sindhu Ati Sandra Kripaika Sindhu, and she is the ocean of mercy because of Ati Sandra, too much happiness. Similarly, Lavanya Sindhu, the word Lavana actually means salt. So just like salt, a preparation gets completed only by salt. And in the absence of salt, however intricately complicated cooking it may be, and however colorful and feast for the eyes it may be, it cannot be feast for the tongue without salt. So Lavana means salt. So Radharani is Lavanya Sindhu. She is the ocean of the most ingredient of beauty. If Radharani is taken away from Goloka Vrindavan, everything stops. So just like salt is important to complete anything, Radharani is important to complete Sri Krishna and the eternal world. So Lavanya Sindhu, she is the ocean of beauty, and Amrita Chavi Rupa Sindhu, she is the source of sweetness in form. Shri Radhika Spuratu Meridikeli Sindhu, may that Radharani eternally manifest in the saltwater ocean of our materialistic heart. Like that. So in this way, going ahead in our discussion, we see that text 9 to 19, the 10 verses that Shukdev Goswami describes, they have so many names. We just covered a few, and in the interest of time, we will just leave it at that. Most of these translations, if you see, even for the word to word, Prabhupada leaves the Sanskrit only for the English translation also. Like every verse has a Sanskrit to English translation. So Prabhupada translates few of those fruits and flowers and even herbs and other trees. But many of them Prabhupada leaves the English translation also the same word only. The Sanskrit word is only like Kovidaraihi, Kovidara fruit. Saralaihi, Sarala tree. Suradarubihi, Suradaru trees. Like that. But Draksha, Prabhupada says grapes. Ikshu, sugarcane. Ramba, banana. Jambu bihi, jambu fruit. Jamun. Like that. But most of them, if you see Aksha, Aksha fruit. Abhaya, Abhaya fruit. So Prabhupada leaves it like that because even if Prabhupada translates, we will not understand. Bhagavatam is actually written for those who have grown up in the villages, those who are growing up in village setup with very nice aesthetic background, in a holistic environment, very organic, without any artificial growth. They can understand all these names. But we are born and brought up in the city, and we love to live in the city. So Prabhupada has left the Sanskrit just like that, because even if he translates, we will not know what it is. So many of that is described. Even the flowers, if you see, Prabhupada has left it. But it is for us to understand that it is indeed very amazing. There is so much variety. What we call as seasonal here are eternally found in these places. Eternally found all together, and interestingly, they're all used in plural sense. They're all used in plural usage. It's not singular. It's not like one tree of each species. Plural means there is abundance of all these. Abundance. And all of these fruits are according to the size of the eaters. The demigods are coming and eating. So the demigods have big face and big teeth, and they are very tall. So the fruits and the flowers and the trees that are found are according to their size. Even the abhaya that is called the hariteki, that which I briefly mentioned yesterday, it is oftentimes compared to a mother's lap or a mother's womb. Just like mother's womb or mother's lap only does good to the baby, similarly this haritaki or abhaya is called abhaya. You don't have to have any fear in having it, because its medicinal properties and medicinal uses are as good as a mother's love for the child. It cannot bring in any ill effect, or there is no disadvantage. There's no side effect, as you would call it. A person lives long by having all this. Demigods don't need these medicines, but Shukdev Goswami has described them just to tell us how rich in environment these places are. So that is as far as 9 to 19 is concerned. So now let's start with 20. That is our discussion starting. We'll go from 20 onwards today to a few verses ahead. Tatraikadata girikananashrayah karenubhi varanayuta sankantakam ki chakavenu vetravat vishalagulmam prarujan vanaspatin. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The leader of the elephants who lived in the forest of the mountain Trikuta once wandered towards the lake with his female elephants. He broke many plants, creepers, thickets and trees, not caring for their piercing thorns. So I welcome everyone to the first introduction of the hero of our story, Sri Gajendra Mahashaya ki Jai. So on the 8th session, in the middle of the 8th session, after 7.5 hours of our discussion on the Trikuta, we have come to the introduction, the first mention of Gajendra. So now let's go to the word-to-word meaning. In the 20th text, you see the first word is tatra. Tatra means there. So what has been described till now, Shukdev Goswami wraps it up in one word, tatra. So in that scenic environment described, ekada. Ekada means once upon a time. So Shukdev Goswami is the best storyteller. Ekada grihadasishu yashoda ananda gehini karmantarani yuktasu nirmamanta swayam dadhi. Before he starts the Damodar Lila, Krishna says, Shukdev Goswami says, ekada, once. So da means time. When you have to ask when, you say yada, yada. And when you have to say, oh, at that time, then tada. So Krishna says, yada yada hi dharmasya. Whenever. Tada atmanam srijamyaham. At that time I appear. So yada means, the specific time according to a certain clause. When this happens, and tada, then this will happen. But if you have to ask a question, when would it happen? Kada. Kada karishyasi hamam kripa kataksha bhajanam. So yada, tada, kada. If you have to say all the time, sarvada. But if you have to say once upon a time, ekada. So da means time and eka means once. So Shukdev Goswami, when he introduces Damodar Lila like an expert speaker, narrator of story, he says, once upon a time, ekada grihadasishu, like that. Also when Shukdev Goswami starts the story of Krishna eating the dirt pastime, Canto 10, chapter 8, text 32 onwards, Shukdev Goswami says, Ekada Kridamanaste Ramadhya Gopadarakaha Krishna Mridam Bhakshitavan Iti Matrenya Vedayan. Ekada Kridamanaste. Oh, once upon a time again, when Krishna was playing, etc., he ate dirt. So Shukdev Goswami says, Ekada. So similarly, till now he has been describing the scene, and now is the actual start of the story, where you're going to see the action. So therefore he says, Tatra, there, Ekada, once upon a time. So that's like the break to start the story. Tad Giri Kanana Ashrayah. So 3 words. Giri means mountain and Kanana means forest. We know Krishna has a name, Kadamba Kanana. He who Rasa Parayana. He who is expert in having Rasa Lila and very beautiful pastimes. Rasa Parayana in the Kadamba Kanana, in the forests of the Kadamba tree. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Kadamba Kanana Rasa Parayana Vrinda Vipina Nivasi. Krishna lives in the forest amidst the Kadamba forest. Kadamba Kanana. So Kanana means forest. So Giri Kanana Ashrayah. So now the reference is, the main focus is on Gajendra, the king among elephants. So Shukdev Goswami says, so there in that place once upon a time, Tad Giri, which mountain? Trikuta, that has been described. And the forest described with the trees and the vanaspati, etc. Ashrayah, that was the place of shelter for Gajendra. So what it actually means is Gajendra was actually born in that place. And he grew up there. He never went anywhere. That was his home. That was his place of shelter. That was everything for him. Home is where the heart is. So where is his heart? That is the second line. Karenu bihi varana yuta pascharan. So 3 words are important to note here. The word Kari means a male elephant. So therefore Gajendra is sometimes even called as Kari Rat. When you see Rup Goswami refer to Gajendra in the Padyavali, he calls Gajendra as Kari Rat. Rata means king. Vishnu Ratena Samprishto Bhagavan Badarayani. This word has been used. So please forgive me, Vishnu Rata. Vishnu Rata there means he who's protected by Vishnu. That is Parikshit Maharaj. But here it is not the Ta but the Ta. So that is Kari Rat. Rat means the king among elephants. So Kari means elephant and Karenu means a female elephant. So Kari means a male elephant and Karenu means a female elephant, which in plural sense becomes Karenu Bihi. And also Karabha means baby elephants. So Kari, Karenu and Karabha. The reason I'm making these 3 words here is because these are the elements which will come again. These words will be used again. So where is his heart? Karenu Bihi Varana Yuta Pascharan. Along with the female elephants in plural usage again. Varana Yuta Pascharan. Charan, he was moving around. We know the word Chara. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. The word Chari, Charayan. Here, Charan. So the gopis are using the word Charayan because Krishna is going to take the cows around for grazing purpose. Here, Charan, to move. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Krishna, he who moves and wanders on the banks of the Yamuna. So Varana Yutapa Charan. So Gajendra, Varana Yutapa means he who is the leader, the protector of their specific group of elephants. So that also has multiple meanings. One meaning is Gajendra always used to move in groups, just like other elephants do. They have a male elephant, they have multiple female elephants, and of course that means through them they have many babies also. And the baby elephants, as we know, are very cute. They'll be walking around, they're pretty restless. And sometimes they will just tumble over and the mother or the father has to come and pull them up with their trunk. So this is the scene that we have to imagine. A very, very big, huge Gajendra with Karenu Bihi, many, many wives, and Varana Yuta. There is a group he's having. So what that means is, 1, he's having a group of his own. 2nd, he's the leader in that. And 3rd, it may also mean some of his wives that he has got. He may have had a fight with other kings and other groups. There are elephant groups and then there will be leaders in those groups. And it's possible that Gajendra and another leader of another group may have had a fight to get a certain female elephant. And then, of course, in that fight, maybe Gajendra would have won, and he would have won over the affection and the attention of a certain she elephant. So all of these emotions are included, that he is the leader, he is the main person in the group, he is the protector for the whole group. Shukdev Goswami has described our Gajendra externally, but now he goes into the internal, how Gajendra's heart was. Sankatam Sakantakam Kichaka Venu Vetravat Vishala Gulmam Prarujan Vanaspatin. Now, Kantaka means something which is very sharp, something which is very difficult, like thorns, something very sharp. Sakantakam, even shrubs and trees and different kinds of creepers which are sharp and little difficult, because the creepers may sometimes be wrapped up on a tree. They may be taking shelter of another shrub or other plants. So those thickets which are very difficult, those trees which are very thick and some which are very sharp and pointed, what he would do is prarujan. The word used is prarujan. Prarujan means prabhanjanam, which means to uproot, but not just uproot, partially. The syllable pra means completely. Prakarashena or prakrishta rupena, completely uprooting. Vishala gulmam. Vishala means something which is very wide and long and thick, very difficult, but that also he would break up, he would just uproot. So we have to here imagine Gajendra to be having a very big form, someone like Vritrasura, but at the same time he was very cultured. He was a cultured elephant, and he had many wives. He was like an ideal grihastha there in the elephant family. And why was he uprooting all of this? Maybe some of them to eat. Himself he wanted to eat, so he's uprooting. But some he's just uprooting to play, just bihar. He's enjoying. And these trees are on the way, so he's just uprooting them, maybe to show his strength to his babies, or to be a little intoxicated with pride for his strength in front of his she elephants, so that he can get their attention. Or sometimes as they are walking, it's possible that Gajendra is seeing that they are walking behind him. So if he could maybe walk past, but he may think that maybe this shrub may pierce my little baby elephant who's walking behind me, or it may come very close to the female elephant, that may be difficult for them to uproot. So out there also his affection for his family has been shown. So he's uprooting it to make the path for his family. Text 21. Yadganda matra dharayo Gajendra Vyagradayo Vyalamriga Sakhadga Mahoraga Chapi Bhayadravanti Sagaura Krishna Sarabha Chamaryah. Translation. Simply by catching scent of that elephant, all the other elephants, tigers and other ferocious animals like the lions, rhinoceros, great serpents and black and white sarabhas fled in fear. The chamari deer also fled. Interesting. So Shukdev Goswami starts the verse by saying Ganda Matra. Ganda Matra. So here Gajendra's strength and his prowess has been shown. So just think of Gajendra to be one of those big influential materialistic people, because please note Gajendra has not surrendered to Krishna yet here. So for teaching us, he is playing the role of someone who is very, very empowered materially. Think about someone who is very strong, very, very influential. He's so birth in that aristocratic forest and very beautiful scenic environment means that Gajendra has very high class birth, very opulent birth. He can eat whatever he wants. He can live wherever he wants. He can sport in whichever water he wants. He can have as many female elephants as he wants. He has no competitor. He has so many babies to play with, and he's very, very strong. And just by catching scent of that elephant, Gandha Matram, just by his scent, or which also means maybe knowing that he's in a certain place, Forget about seeing him face to face. The word used is gandha matra, just by his fragrance, just by his body scent, just by knowing he's in a certain place. Look at the animals which are running away. Other elephants are running away. Tigers and lions and rhinoceroses and serpents are running away, are all fleeing from that spot. So if you see a pack, a group of lions can pull down an elephant. The lioness can attack and the lions can come through and then finish off. It's possible. But here the lions are running away in groups. Even other elephants are coming away, are going away. They're running away. The leader of other elephants are running away. And other animals described here are those who have a very fast moving ability. They can weigh up to 400, 500 pounds. And they have very strong fighting ability. They can pull down any big animal. And at the same time, their paw pressure and their claws and their bite speed, when they catch the neck of a certain animal or a human, if it's a man-eating tiger or a man-eating leopard or whatever, then the person cannot, there is no fight that we can give, even with different kinds of arms. So therefore, man, when he has to do it, he like a coward hides behind a tree and shoots down these tigers. But if he has to do it, just fist to fist without weapons, then his true strength will be known. So here is the scene. As Gajendra is walking, all these animals are running away. They just get to know that Gajendra is coming. They see from a distance that there is a group of elephants, very aristocratic, coming. Then even snakes, big snakes, which can coil down. A snake is called as Ajgara. A snake is called as an Ajgara. Gara means throat and Aj means goat. So a snake is called as an Ajgara because it can swallow down a goat as it is down its throat. So that is how powerful. They can just strangulate and eat up animals. But here when they see even rhinos and hippos and different kinds of deer just running in different directions. So this typically represents the mindset of a materialist who has everything perfect. He has a powerful marriage going on. He has good kids who are successful, very beautiful wife, but here in wives in this case, and they can pull down any building. They can build a skyscraper. They have their own. You've seen those people who can do whatever they want. At their speed dial, they have influential contacts, and they have the power, the position, the money, the good home, the comforts, the luxuries. Like they can throw in the peanuts and the monkeys will come, as the saying goes. So they can do whatever they want. They are very attractive to look at. They have a charismatic personality and very magnetic in their qualities. So that is the picture that Gajendra is painting at the moment. So when we are hearing about the pastime of Gajendra, we should not think that this is some imagination, or another extreme, we shouldn't think that this is true but it's not meant for me. Then what's the point hearing it? Shukdev Goswami is telling a real story, but that story is interesting because that Gajendra is me. Each one of us should think like that. The interesting thing is, Gajendra was indeed Gaja Indra. He was indeed the best among elephants. He was good in everything. And he became proud, and we see the pastime unfolding. But for us, we are like small mosquitoes, thinking that we are Gajendras. So our situation is very, very precarious. Very precarious. And here we see, as Gajendra's position has been described, it's lions are running away. So the point to be noted is, we say the lion is the king of the forest. But in this case, it doesn't seem to be the king of the forest. Gajendra is the king of the forest. And lions are running away, and the small ones are running behind the lions. Those deer which will run away from the lion are running in the same direction behind the lion this time. So it's a funny scene. Deers are running behind the lion, and the lions are running for their life. Deers are also running for their life. Everyone's running away. And for those who are the other animals described in text, in text 22, we see, by the mercy of this elephant, animals like foxes, wolves, buffaloes, bear, boar, gopuchas, porcupines, monkeys, rabbits, and other deer and small animals loitered elsewhere in the forest. They were not afraid of him. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments in his commentary that they were not afraid, meaning they were so afraid that they would never cross their path with Gajendra. Not that Gajendra would kill them. Gajendra was very caring and very nice and loving. But they would think we are so insignificant. All it takes for us to lose our life is the sight of Gajendra. What to speak of being under his lotus feet. Gajendra is one devotee you don't want to be under his lotus feet. You don't want to take shelter of his lotus feet. At least, literally. Maybe through his mood, but he's in an elephant body. So all these little ones would be roaming in the other side of the forest because they would try to make sure that they are in a place where Gajendra is not there. And Shukdev Goswami describes in text 23 and 24 in the translation, surrounded by the herds, other elephants, including females, and followed by the young ones, Gajapati, the leader of the elephants, made Trikuta mountain tremble all around because of the weight of his body. Now look at that. Gajendra was Gajendra. He could make Trikuta mountain shake by his weight. When all the family would walk, the mountain would tremble. The mountain would tremble. That was Gajendra's position. When we look at a glass of water with even one-pointed vision, we don't see even that water shaking because of our sight. Or if we keep a pen or a pencil next to us on the table, we just glance at the pencil. Even the pencil doesn't move. But here Trikuta mountain in Krauncha Dvipa is moving by Gajendra's walking. That is how heavy his walking was. Also, Shukdev Goswami describes herein with the Sanskrit. Let's get to the Sanskrit of text 23 and 24. Shukdev Goswami says, Sa gharma tapta karibi karenu bihi vruto madacchuta karabhai anudhritaha girim garimna parita prakampayan nisevyamano alikulair madashanaihi. So Shukdev Goswami starts the verse by saying gharma tapta, which means there was extreme heat. Tapta means tapa, heat. So there was extreme heat. So we understand, like, see, when we have, we understand that the sun scorches, there's so much heat by the scorching of the sun. But at the same time, when we keep, let's say, a mirror, or let's say we keep a magnifying glass, and we have the sunlight go through a magnifying glass. We have had experiments in school where paper can catch fire when the sunlight of the sun goes through the magnifying lens of the magnifying glass. So imagine mirrors and magnifying glasses all over, because the emeralds and the stones at Trikuta, they're all like mirrors, they're all like magnifying glasses. So the sun rays at Trikuta gets magnified so many times through all these green emeralds found, and so many diamond-like stones found, and so many mirror surfaces. As a result of which, because of the concentration of these rays of the sun, we see, and the presence of so many stones, the reflection of these sunlight causes increased heat. So because of this, there is Sagharma Tapta. There is increased heat and everyone is sweating. All the elephants, they are feeling very hot and they're also feeling thirsty. Who all? Karibihi, Karenubihi. And in the second line, we say Karabaihi. So Karibihi means plural usage of male elephants. Karenubihi means plural usage of female elephants. And Karabaihi means plural usage of baby elephants. So all of them are found. So Sagharma Tapta Karibi Karenubihi, all of them are feeling thirsty, hungry, they're all perspiring, and Vrita. Vrita means all over, like Avrita, the word we have discussed previously. So they are walking all around Gajendra. So it's like a big troop walking. And Madachutaha. Gajendra has intoxicating honey dripping down his mouth. He's chewing different plants. It's typical. The scene is typical to an influential big shot who on one side has opulent perfumes decorating his body, and on the other side he has a glass of wine. So he's drinking on the table and then he has all of his enjoyment around. So that is the picture that Gajendra the Shukdev Goswami's painting about Gajendra. So Karibihi, male elephants, Karenubihi, female elephants, Karabaihi, baby elephants. And what are the baby elephants doing? Anudhritaha. Shukdev Goswami even describes in the Sanskrit that the baby elephants are restless. You see, the word dhrita means to be very fast and restless. Like in tabla, there is a beat called as dhritlay, which means when the speed is little faster. So dhrita means fast, to be restless, to be little, unsteady. And anu means behind. So the baby elephants are all behind Gajendra, and they're like swaying from side to side. They're very restless. They're smelling different plants at the same time. They're very thirsty. They're trying to take different things in their trunk. So that's the mood. And at that time, girim garimna paritaha prakampayan. Kampanam means shaking or trembling. And paritaha, on all sides, girim, the mountains are shaking as the elephants are walking. And as they're walking, nisevyamano, Ali. Ali means a bumblebee. Ali Kula, family of bumblebees are all sevyamana. They are all circling Gajendra, and they are trying to serve him in different ways by bringing in different articles from different forests, because he's the king. So they are, as Gajendra is walking with his big ears, these bumblebees are coming and offering him different kinds of intoxicating eatables from different plants. And at the same time, the bumblebees themselves are tasters of honey. So you can give something unless you can taste it yourself. So the bumblebees could taste it, and therefore they could also offer it to Gajendra. So this is an interesting aspect. Gajendra is pictured here to be someone who is uprooting trees, and he is enjoying, but at the same time he is also thirsty, and he is sweating. This is a very, very proud elephant. Very proud scene set up. Very proud scene set up. So Gajendra actually represents, on an introspective level for us, a very important point. Gajendra is not thinking about what is happening to the trees that he's uprooting. He is not thinking about the snakes that he is stamping over. He's not thinking about the different comforts and opulences that he's having, and why he should have it, and why the animal should run away from him. Which means he is convinced in his heart that I am special. I am better than others. This is what happens when we have some empowerment, some quality given by Krishna. We see this in this world. The more we think that we are better, the more we think I deserve respect, I deserve appreciation, I deserve encouragement. You may give a class, and after the first class, the 5 people may come and say, oh, it was a very good class. Now, after the second class, the minimum expectation is at least 5 should come and tell me. But now, if 10 come and say, oh, wonderful, I'm getting better. And this builds up to the 40th class. And the 41st class, no one comes and says. Even if the class was fantastic, the speaker feels miserable because his false ego is so used to having appreciation and encouragement every time. And this is the problem with growing up kids with this mentality that you're entitled for something. You will be appreciated for everything, where they don't see the tunnel to appreciate light. They are so used to being under the sunlight that they can't tolerate even the shadow, what to speak of darkness. So when we are respected and we are convinced that we are better, naturally our expectations go on increasing. And when someone doesn't give it to us, it's a big problem. Those who give it to us, we love them. And those who don't give it according to our expectation, maybe they would have given it to the best of their ability, but it may not fit our expectation. So naturally, we are not very happy. I remember reading the article of a very famous Bollywood actor, and he was a hit basically. You know, in the 70s and the 80s, he was a big hit in Bollywood, and all of the movies starred him, and he was the number one. And he mentions in his own interview that every birthday that I would have, people would start lining up the previous night outside his bungalow, so that I want to be ahead, wishing him happy birthday as he comes on his balcony on the morning of his birthday. So people would start standing 8 hours, 10 hours overnight just before his birthday. So he was used to it. And in his interview, he said, what happened? I am the same person. But now when I am in my late 60s and early 70s, on my birthday, I have to remind myself it's my birthday. I come onto the terrace and there is no one. Even my own people are not there with me. It's a vacant, deserted place, my balcony, and I'm crying that these were the places where people used to fight to have a spot. And people would whistle and clap and offer so many gifts. But now, even his own family was not offering it. So this is what happens to the false ego. The more it gets, the more we think we are better, the more expectation increases. And the more we get it, the more we get used to that. So when we don't get anything close to it, it is failure. So it's almost like giving the remote control of our happiness in somebody else's hand. Another example that I remember was a very famous chess player from America. He was very famous in playing against Bobby Fischer in 1975, the very famous chess world championship. In fact, there have been movies made on him, like The Pawn Sacrifice, etc. Very famous, and so many millions of dollars made also. The chess player that I'm talking about is Bobby Fischer. So Bobby Fischer was a very big name, but I mean, he was super genius. He was very, very intelligent. Once when he went to Europe, he couldn't speak the local language. So he called up his, from a public call booth, he called up his friend to speak, to say that I have arrived. But when the other side, the phone was picked, it was not his friend, but the friend's daughter. And the friend's daughter didn't understand English. Or rather, she couldn't speak English. She understood English, but she couldn't speak English. And Bobby Fischer could speak English, but he couldn't understand any other language. He could understand English and speak English. So he asked for the name of his friend. And the daughter on the other side, she understood that someone's asking for her father. So she, for 3 minutes, explained on that phone in the local language, the European language, as to why her father was not at home. Bobby Fischer hung up. He went to a translator, spoke 3 minutes of what that call was, and asked the translator, what does this mean? So this is how genius he was. You could show him any chess position, and he could tell you very accurately about which game was that. Like, you could show him a chess position that he has played. There are thousands of games he had played. But you could show him a chess position, just a position, a certain position of the movements of the black and white, and he will tell you this was this game against this competitor in this place. So he was a super genius. But the problem was, now because he was so special, so empowered and so endowed with these abilities, he had a lot of tantrums too. Like, he wouldn't come to a place if it had a certain setup. Like, if in the middle of the game, he could hear some shoe sound, even just once or twice, the corporate shoe making sound on the floor, he would give up the game and he would say, I don't care for the game. I don't want to continue. Or if he sees too many photographers taking pictures, or if he sees a light on his face, immediately he would get angry. And if he has a ticking, the clock, on a blitz game, you play it on the clock. So if he sees the ticking of the clock is too irritating, he would drop the clock, or he would just leave the game and go for a coffee break. So all of these things would happen, and then he was imprisoned, and so he went through so much. Very special, very nice chess player. But the point is, when we get carried away with our genius, we get carried away with what God has given us, that pride is the start of all downfall. I remember another story of a famous boxer who would say on the records, on the mic, in the press conference, he would yell and say that I am the best. I am the best. Everyone, he would say things like, I know, the world knows I am the best. I am the greatest, like that. But later, when after a few years, when he was detected with Parkinson's, he couldn't even pick up a cup of coffee. The person who could punch the heavyweights down, he couldn't pick up a cup of coffee. And he completed his previous sentence by saying, then I said I was the greatest, but now I complete, I am the greatest fool. So this is how life humbles. So either we go through our own natural spiritual introspection of humbling ourselves, or else material nature does it. And when material nature does it, she doesn't use an anesthesia. So it's very, very painful. Very painful. Another example that I remember of a very famous, she had won some beauty contest, some Miss something. And she was very beautiful and young. But once accidentally, when in her home, when she was close to the kitchen, I think she was cooking something or assisting in cooking, and there was a oil splash, and it just touched her cheek and left behind a burn mark. So now she was so embarrassed. When people would come, she would try to hide her face with a cloth, because she would think that, oh, I'm such a beautiful person, I'm so famous, I am Miss something, and people would think that I look ugly. So it became so intolerable for her that she couldn't live with that mark on her face, that she preferred to commit suicide and end her life than to live with it. So the position of being special and known for one's beauty got onto the consciousness so much that it was intolerable to accept a reversal. You see all these heroines also, as they age, you see they are so used to fan following, they're so used to being beautiful, that when they get old, they somehow fight it out. They have hair transplants, they have wigs, they try and fight it out to get back to the position where they were. But it is almost impossible. If a cricketer from the 70s tries to come and play now, he's not going to succeed. Gone are those days. Gone are the days of Sir Don Bradman. Gone are the days of, let's say, Sunil Gavaskar. Gone are the days of even Sachin Tendulkar. He was such a big thing. When I was growing up, Sachin Tendulkar was like the god. You know, when Radhanath Swami Maharaj was giving class, one person in the Prerna festival said, Maharaj, for me, cricket is religion. My religion is cricket, and my God is Sachin. And Maharaj said, I don't know about you, but my Lord is not Sachin, but Sachinandan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is the fever. So many ISKCON temples used to be, even on a Sunday feast, it used to be vacant when India is playing Pakistan. But where is all that now? Now it's been replaced by the newer tides. The sands of time replace, and they break the castles of our quote-unquote glory. People are so worried about how they look and how their social position is. Everywhere you see people with the selfie. It's almost like selfie-citis. It's almost like a mental disorder. It's like an illness. You're traveling on the flight and people are taking selfie. And it's the same face, but different smiles and different angles, just to see if it's going to be better, and then putting it on Facebook to see how many likes I'm getting, putting it on Instagram to see how many people are following me. The more number of likes, the more number of comments, the more number of shares, the more number of following. Now we want to be there to maintain it. So this is, so when we are reading the pastime of Gajendra, and Gajendra is walking with his family, with his kids, and there's intoxicating wine or honey dripping from his mouth, and he's uprooting everything on his path. This is the perfect recipe for a downfall. It's a perfect recipe. So this is what we learn by hearing these stories. I was speaking to one very senior preacher and devotee whom I really respect a lot. Recently I was speaking to Prabhuji, and he was mentioning how his spiritual master once told him in 2013 in a public class, and he could catch this as a jewel in his heart. His spiritual master told him that one could be a very erudite scholar. One could be a very mesmerizing, impressive, charismatic speaker. One could be endowed with impeccable memory and the power to impress and inspire many. But by doing this, if he thinks that he's even an inch better than others, and he starts thinking, I am better and I am entitled, then he has not understood even a single letter of all the different classes that he has given. He has not understood. He has vomited it out. He has blabbered it like a parrot, but he has actually not digested it. So I remember this is even my spiritual master gives a very beautiful example. He gives the example during Durga Puja in Calcutta. He mentions that as he was growing up and he saw this himself, that there was a Durga Puja set up, and they were having a little deity of Durga Puja, of Durga Devi. So this was basically, they were having puja for a few days prior to the main Durga Puja, and then a few days later also. So it was like a week long. And so they would have a deity of Durga Devi got from the place to the mandap, worshipped and taken back, like that. So he mentioned they would keep it on back of a donkey, and they would keep the deity on the back of a donkey, and then as the donkey walks, everybody would bow down and everybody would offer agarbatti and like literally ghee lamp and flowers, etc. So Guru Maharaj says, I grew up with this impression, and he just took the example a few notches higher. He said, now at the end of the Durga Puja, if the donkey starts thinking that finally they understood my glory, they're offering obeisances to me, they're offering ghee lamp, they're offering incense sticks, so how glorious. And all of this just by being me. Now I haven't even started singing and dancing. So imagine now if the next day the donkey has the Durga deity, mud Durga's deity on the back, and he now starts singing, braying and starts jumping, and the deity falls from his back. People are going to whip this donkey. And the donkey would start thinking that people are envious of his singing and dancing. But the point is, the donkey was thinking the obeisances went to him while they were actually going for the Durga deity on his back. And this is exactly our story. This is exactly our story. Whatever we accomplish in life is happening because of the Paramatma, of the deity of Sri Radha and Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in our heart, on our back, their lotus feet on our head as empowerment. Now, when we start thinking that it is for us, then it is the story of the donkey. That is exactly what is happening to Gajendra here. He is teaching us, although Gajendra from past life is King Indradyumna, who is a very great devotee, for teaching us this very beautiful lesson, Gajendra is playing this role of a materialistic who has not taken shelter of Krishna yet. He's very, you'll see now, I'll just finish text 24 also. Saro nilam pankaja renu rushitam jigran viduran madavivvalekshanaha vrita swayutena trisharditena tat sarovara bhyasam athagama drutam. I'll just read the translation again. Surrounded by the herds, other elephants, including females, and followed by young ones, Gajendra or Gajapati, the leader of the elephants, made Trikuta mountain tremble all around because of the weight of his body. He was perspiring. Liquor dripped from his mouth and his vision was overwhelmed by intoxication. He was being served by bumblebees who drank honey, and from a distance he could smell the dust of the lotus flowers which was carried from the lake by the breeze. Thus, surrounded by his associates who were afflicted by thirst, he soon arrived at the bank of the lake. So Gajendra is going there to relieve himself of his thirst and his perspiration. He is going as the king. And we see here that Gajendra, who's playing this role of a materialist, is teaching us that this is a perfect recipe for a downfall. Everything but Krishna. Now here's the interesting twist. Having all of this is not a problem, provided one is constantly remembering Sri Krishna. To have a big house, is it a problem? Well, the answer is no. But there is a very, very subtle clause here. It is easier to remember Krishna in destitute poverty than in opulent richness. But on the other hand, if one is forgetting Krishna in destitute poverty, going around begging and having all the other criminal activities to make his living, on the other hand, somebody living in a big palace is constantly remembering Krishna, worshipping Krishna, offering his kids also in service to Krishna, then the place doesn't matter. The consciousness is important. Where are our eyes? Where is our heart? What are we thinking about? So very clearly in this passage we see, Shukdev Goswami doesn't say Gajendra, while being amidst all of this, was constantly thinking of his Supreme Lord. Instead, in text, I'll read 25 and 26 also, the English. It is described, the king of the elephants entered the lake, bathed thoroughly, and was relieved of his fatigue. Then, with the aid of his trunk, he drank the cold, clear nectarian water, which was mixed with the dust of lotus flowers and water lilies, until he was fully satisfied. Like a human being who lacks spiritual knowledge and is too attached to the members of his family, the elephant, being illusioned by the external energy of Krishna, had his wives and children bathe and drink the water. Indeed, he raised water from the lake with his trunk and sprayed it over them. He did not mind the hard labor involved in this endeavor. We are all Gajendras here. We are all Gajendras. We are Dharma Tapta. We are perspiring by the heat of distress in this world. But along with our family, instead of going to Krishna, we are searching for a water pond to relieve. And those are the material sense objects that we take shelter of. And Gajendra is described here in text 25 that he entered Vilotya. He entered to sport in that water. He found the water to be very tasty. He found the water to be very clean and pure. And he found that water to be very fragrant. This is the nature of someone who's taking shelter of a materialistic sense object for temporary pleasure to relieve permanent suffering. Permanent suffering and permanent heat is facing away from Krishna. But we try to suppress that by giving temporary joy, like entering a water pond. And we also convince ourselves there is nothing wrong. Very tasty, it is very pure, it is very fragrant. And in this way, what did Gajendra do? He drank it twice. He took it from his trunk once, and then with the trunk, he was putting it in the mouth. So he was drinking the water twice. He drank. Shukdev Goswami says, Papau Nikamam. He drank enough to fulfill all of his desires. Nija Pushkarodhritam. With his own trunk, he was drinking that water. This sense object, this sense pleasure will relieve me. And in this way, he was drinking again and again and again and again. And he drank to his fullest satisfaction. He was bathing also. But the interesting thing is, he went there alone because his family was not there. The she-elephants and the others, they faced fear, and they feared some water creatures and going into the water. The babies were, of course, afraid, and the she-elephants thought, we are very weak. If we go in, something will happen. And literally, Gajendra was fearless there. He was clear. He was abhayam, no fear. He is going inside and peacefully playing. You see, the family did not get caught by the crocodile, but Gajendra got caught. This means even if the sense object is very close, one should be at a distance and not pursue it. The family which didn't pursue it was safe. But Gajendra who pursued the sense object, thinking that nothing will happen to me, got caught. Prabhupada said, the problem that we in the Krishna consciousness movement can face is lack of fear of Maya. When we think I can enjoy this and get away, that is what is the mentality of Gajendra. So Gajendra enters the water, drinks the water, relieves the heat just by entering the water, and he swims around, sports around, splashes around. So the perspiration is gone. He is drinking enough water to take the thirst out. He is bathing himself. So Klamaha Gataha, Bhagavatam describes, his fatigue was gone. And when he personally was relieved, Shukdev Goswami describes Gajendra represents a typical materialistic household man. Why? He is a person who is getting onto the field, trying to do the hard work, get the water on himself, relieve his thirst first. Then he's trying to serve his family so that because they didn't drink, they didn't even come close. So he is drinking, and he's also now taking as like a shower. Shukdev Goswami describes in text 26, he uses a very interesting word. He uses the word Shikarambubihi, which means like a shower, a bathing shower. Gajendra was showering on his family. He was lifting the water with his own trunk, with so much hard work. He was telling their wives, you come inside. They said, no, from distance it's okay. You offer your mercy from there. So we are a little scared. Gajendra said, no, you come into the water, I will protect you. Why fear when I am here? This was Gajendra's mood. So this is the typical mood of a grihastha, that there is so much to enjoy. Getting the spouse on board, I am there for you, I love you, I am always there for you, etc. Even if the wife sometimes says, I think this could be risky, I don't think we should invest in this, I don't think we should get too much absorbed. Hey, why don't you worry? Hey, why do you worry? You don't know much about it. You just trust me, I will do it. This is Gajendra's mood. Also the kids are saying, no, we don't want to get in. Gajendra is telling the kids, you come into the water, I'll teach you how to swim. One day you have to become big and you have to follow the legacy, the parampara of being Gajendra. So if you fear swimming in the water, how are you going to succeed? So you beat your fear by entering it. You enter water, and then I will teach you how to swim. So Gajendra is himself inside, and the wives and the kids are outside, and they're looking at Gajendra. Now to get their favor, Gajendra is going inside the water and doing some stunts. This represents the achievements of a materialistic man. He impresses his kids, he impresses his wives, he works so hard, and from there, he is like the Gajendra is showing a shower. So now they're all just standing there, they get water to drink and water to bathe. This is what every materialistic man wants. He wants enough food and water to drink and eat at home, and he wants water to bathe in his house. So he wants the electricity, the utilities, the light, everything perfect in his house. He doesn't want any cut. He doesn't want his kids to have lack of anything. So that is Gajendra. He's again and again, it's so difficult. He's pulling off water from his trunk and pouring. And it's not just one wife. He has many, many wives and many, many kids, and individually to everyone. And then multiple, they all have to take seconds. Someone to drink, someone to bathe, someone to relax. So he's doing so much hard work. He is doing it for them. They didn't do it themselves. He is doing it. So Shukdev Goswami is reminded, this represents the life of a materialistic man. Why? Because one, it attaches him to his family. Affection for them, considering that they are part and parcel of Krishna, and that Krishna has given them to me to take care, is one thing. But to be so attached that without them I cannot survive, and without me they cannot survive. This is the first point. Second point, Gajendra is working so hard for his family, but he is not thinking that this same energy, if I put in my own bhajan, I will get Krishna by now. Why wait for water of this world when Amrita Rasa is waiting? Krishna is like the cloud, giving pure water, and the waters of this world, enjoyment of this world, is like salty ocean water. It may look like unlimited, but when you go in, it is salty. So first point, Gajendra was very attached to his wives and his kids. Second, he was working so hard for his family's well-being that there was no conception, there was no concept, there was no hard work for spiritual life. Third, he is serving thinking that this is all in all. He is not able to see the imminent, the upcoming trouble. So therefore there is a saying in Sanskrit, Ati Sarvatra Varjayet. Too much of anything is to be avoided. So Gajendra is serving his family, there must be a limit to it. Saying that, bas, abhi itna I can give you, bas, abhi isme khush raho. But he is working so hard. There's this, Rup Goswami says, Atyahara prayasascha, prayasa, too much endeavor. One is always going to be maintained by Krishna, but we put in so much hard work. This also teaches us too much material passion and ambition takes our time and energy away from our true goal. We can always say, I'm going to use it for Krishna's service, etc. But when you can directly serve Krishna with sincerity and offering him your heart, why go the indirect route? Krishna loves when you offer him your money, but Krishna loves it more when you offer yourself. So Gajendra here is so busy in his family that point number 3, his family is all that matters to him. He is not able to see what's coming up. The fourth point is, previous life he has done bhajan as King Indradyumna, but that doesn't mean one can continue on past fuel. You can fill the fuel in the car once and you can go a certain distance, but again you're going to have the beeping sign for a refill. So every life that we do bhajan, It's not that last life I did bhajan, next life I can enjoy. The life of a devotee is that of the soldier on the war front. We have to fire continuously till the time we don't go headless. So Gajendra thought, previous life I did bhajan, so this life I can enjoy. So that is the fourth mistake. And the fifth mistake is not fearing the water enough. He thought, what can the water do? When the land itself is not able to do anything, what can the water do? All these animals are very small in front of me. And elephants, as you know, are expert swimmers. Even with their weight, they can swim with 4 legs and they can cover large distance in less time. So he's also proud of his ability, and he's telling everyone, please come in. So therefore, Shukdev Goswami in text 26, he uses 2 adjectives for a materialistic man compared to Gajendra. He says the first word used is kripana. Kripana means someone who's very attached and he doesn't know anything beyond his family. Shrota Vyadini Rajendra Nrunam Santi Sahasrashaha Apashyatam Atmatattvam Griheshu Grihamedhinam. A grihastha is he who makes Krishna as the center in his house, which means everything, every thought process is about Krishna. Food eating, Krishna gets it first. When you shop something for yourself, your deities get it first. We have to wake up early in the morning to chant. So every day is sandwiched. Even if you have to work in the office, every 15-20 minutes we break the thought process and we say Hare Krishna. Just so that we can spiritualize our work every 15 minutes. Or even during the break, if we can have discussions with our colleague and have some Krishna conscious discussions, or have a tab open where we are reading Veda base, or if you have relaxed work from home and if you have some breaks, you can hear a class or read some section and again get back. That greed, how much more can I do? Never to feel comfortable about the bhajan that we are doing. One should always be satisfied with the money that we have. We should always be satisfied with the wife that we have. We should always be satisfied with the quality of food that we get. But however, we should not be satisfied with the bhajan that we are doing. We should not be satisfied with the shastra that we are studying. We should not be satisfied with the charity that we are giving. These 3 things should be increased always. I should give more in charity, I should chant the names more, and I should read shastra more. So there is no question. One may be satisfied, but one should not be satiated. One should not think that's all. So the first word used is kripana, and the second adjective used in a negative connotation is durmada. Durmada means someone who is madly intoxicated in the wrong way. So we thinking that I have made so much money, I have, I'm a self-made man, I have so much savings, everyone respects me, I have this position. It is actually a very, very big net. The more we are attached to these things, the more painful our death is. For those who are very humble and attached to Krishna, they are waiting to go back home, back to Godhead. So when the soul is about to leave the body, they are ready. So the pain is less because there is no resistance. But for those who are used to enjoying the available opportunities of gratification through this body, when death comes and knocks at our door, there is resistance because we still want to enjoy those facilities and different opulences, subtle and gross opulences that we have. So therefore it is better, before death snatches it, we lovingly offer it to Krishna while being alive. So in this way, the words used are kripana and durmada for Gajendra. There is one more word used for Gajendra, comparing it to a materialistic life of a grihamedhi, not a grihastha, because as I mentioned, grihastha is he who Krishnizes his family life. But a grihamedhi is he who gets married and has children and moves around in that same house, working morning to night to get the money to pay the bills for the house, where he can live with his wife and kids so that he can be happy. Now that's where the net is. We are trying to chalk out and tailor a plan, keeping Krishna out. So that is a grihamedhi. But a grihastha is he who thinks, I am going to work to get the money. I want the money to pay the bills of the house. I need the house to stay with my family. I have the family because I got married. And in that house with my family, I want to stay because I want to chant and remember Sri Krishna. Because if the bills are not paid and if you don't know where the money is going to come from, even when you chant Hare Krishna, the anxiety would be, what about my food next? So we want to pay off that so that comfortably in the house, with our wife and with our kids, we can chant and remember Krishna. If this is the focus, then he's a grihastha. So Grihamedi and grihastha both are going to work and making the money. But the consciousness, the aim, why they're doing it is different. So herein Gajendra represents not a grihastha, but a grihamedhi. Before the surrender. Eternally, he's a pure devotee, but he is going through the motions to teach us this lesson. There is also one more word used for a grihamedi, as I was mentioning in this verse. And what that word is, we'll not cover it now. We'll cover it tomorrow. Because if I get into that, we will have to see the elephant's lotus feet getting caught by the jaws of the crocodile. And I don't want to do that tonight, because poor Gajendra will spend unnecessary 24 hours with his feet bleeding in the jaws of the crocodile. So let him enjoy in that water for 24 hours till tomorrow's discussion. Till tomorrow evening, through our narration, let Gajendra continue to remain in the water, throwing and splashing, drinking water and bathing his family with that water. Let him enjoy. And tomorrow we will start our discussion with that one adjective from text 26, and text 27 onwards is the catch of Gajendra's feet by the very ferocious jaws of the crocodile. So we'll see you tomorrow, which is going to be Sunday in North America. We are going to see and meet at same time, 7 to 8 Eastern Standard Time. I went little longer today because I just wanted to wrap this up so that tomorrow we start off with the fight with the crocodiles. Please kindly forgive me for that. So it's going to be 7 to 8 Eastern Standard Time, the same as today. We're going to meet same time and the same platform, which is going to be Facebook again through Adi Gadadhar Prabhu's Facebook account. I really want to thank over 100 devotees joining in every single day. Very, very grateful for the time, the invaluable attention and faith that you are investing in the Srimad Bhagavatam in this narration. If not for all the devotees attending, these classes would not be possible. So I really want to thank all of you for kindly offering your time and so much attention and affection through these sessions. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Till tomorrow, please stay tuned and let us continue relishing and rejoicing this epic narration of Shukdev Goswami. Till then, let poor Gajendra enjoy with his family. He's going to go through some tough times. So let's pray for him. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gauru Premanande Hari Hari Bo.